Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us today for our education session on the new DBplus pension adjustment offset. Joining me today is Bill Hurley, Team Lead, Employer Services, and Margaret Saliba, Senior Pension Analyst, Employer Services. We also have Heather Brady, Director, Pension Policy, Michelle Kidd, Manager, Policy Development, and Kyle Nimrichter, Senior Policy Advisor, here to help to answer any questions you may have. Someone actually has their mic on. I'm hearing an echoing. I'm not sure if others are hearing that or not. So the purpose of today's session is to discuss the revised PA formula for DBplus. We'll start by reviewing the current PA framework, then move on to the revised DBplus PA formula. We'll talk about the timeline and end with any questions you may have. I will now pass it over to Margaret to begin today's session.
So what is pension adjustment, or PA? Some of you have worked with pension adjustments, but many of you have less experience. So let's start with the basics. Why do we do it? A pension adjustment is used to determine the deemed value of pension earned by a member in a registered pension plan each year. The pension adjustment system was designed to level the playing field for tax shelter retirement funds between Canadians that have access to employer-sponsored pension plan and those that don't and who may have to save for retirement to a more traditional RSP account. This takes into account the full value of the pension a member has earned in that year as opposed to just the contribution amount. Once the value is determined, the member's RSP room is then reduced by that amount for the subsequent tax year. A member's PA is reported by the employer on their T4 and used when filing their taxes. You may recall seeing your own pension adjustment on your T4. So how do we calculate a pension adjustment? There is a basic PA formula, which many of you have seen before and we have on this slide. This is the formula used for defined benefit plans. To calculate a PA, you input the annual pension or benefit entitlement amount that a member earns, and the PA formula translates it into a number that works with the Canadian RSP system. Let's take a closer look at some of the elements of a standard defined benefit PA formula. Generally, PA formulas are pretty similar, but they can differ slightly based on the type of pension plan. The 9 is standard and is set out in the Income Tax Act, so that never changes. The benefit entitlement represents the pension the member earned in the tax year. The 600 PA offset is also standard and acts to reduce the total PA amount, meaning it would take up less RSP room. However, the PA offset amount is typically multiplied by a proration factor. Typically, in the defined benefit plans with service, the PA offset is prorated based on the service. At this stage, you may be asking the question, if a typical PA requires service to calculate the offset, how does this work for DBplus, a plan that does not have service built into it? Let's look more closely at the current DBplus PA framework. The DBplus PA formula is 9 times the benefit entitlement less PA offset of $600. The benefit entitlement is total contributions, both member and employer, earned in a year times the annual pension factor of 8.5%. The simplicity of this framework meant some challenges for different aspects of plan administration. One challenge that was encountered had to do with the application of the PA framework to concurrent members. For purposes of the PA offset calculation, that is, members who participate at more than one CAT employer over a single year. Another challenge of the current framework has to do with consistency in the total PA between employers. This brings us to the revised DBplus PA formula. You will notice that the base calculation, 9 times the benefit entitlement minus $600, is exactly the same as the formula we have now. The only change is to introduce a new proration factor for the PA offset. The proration factor will be calculated by dividing member plus employer contributions by the money purchase limit of that year. Once you enter the proration factor into the formula, it looks like this. As you can see, all we are doing is multiplying the 600 PA offset by the proration factor, which is member and employer contributions divided by the money purchase limit. Let's go to a quick example. Let's calculate the 2023 PA for a member with the following data. They have DBplus earnings of $50,000 and total contributions of $5,000, and therefore a benefit entitlement of $425. And we assume the 2023 money purchase limit of $32,000. So let's take our DBplus PA formula, 9 times the benefit entitlement minus $600 multiplied by our proration factor of member plus employer contributions divided by the money purchase limit of that year. Once we enter our values, we get 9 times $425 minus 600 times 5,000 divided by 32,000. Once you do the math, that is $3,825 minus $93.75. And since you have to report the PA rounded to the nearest dollar, this ends up being $3,731 as the 2023 PA for this member. In this final section, we will discuss the timeline. The go-live date for this change is January 1st, 2023. That is when the revised DBplus PA formula will take effect. This means that any PAs for employment period where DBplus benefits are accrued from January 1st, 2003 onward will be calculated using the revised DBplus PA formula. So what does this mean for employers? This means that for 2022 PA reporting, happening in early 2023, employers will use the current DBplus PA formula. However, for 2023 PA, reporting happening in early 2024, as well as for any terminations and retirements that happen over the course of 2023 and beyond, the new formula will be used. This also means that for any DBplus pension purchases resulting in a past service pension adjustment, or PSPA, from January 1st, 2023 onward, the PSPA will be calculated using the revised DBplus PSPA formula.
Once again, thank you everybody for attending today's session. We hope that it was helpful. And thank you for all of your questions. They were great questions. Really happy to see that we had some questions raised today, and hope we were able to answer them for you. If you have any questions going forward, please reach out to your employer pension analyst. We'd be more than happy to help you. And as usual, we ask that you provide your employer pension analyst with a list of everyone who attended today's session so that we can track this information on your behalf. And then this information will be provided back to you on a quarterly basis, and again at the end of the year as part of the attestation process. So thanks again, everybody, and have a great day.